A Melita.
I used this for many years.
Oh.
And it is a Melita. And this has been by far my favorite brew method. I like it because it's simple. And it makes the amount of coffee that I want to drink. It kind of forces me to not make more than I'm going to drink. And by making only what I'm going to drink, I'm caring a little bit more about the process and the quality. If I'm going to make a pot, I'm a little more volume minded versus really enjoying the experience of the coffee. And these both have been around for a long time, but I didn't know about it. And so when I came across this, I then fell in love with this as well, and kind of went back and forth. But I would say part of why I'm here with Hario is that these products took me there. And it's just the concept of brewing a cup or brewing an amount that I'm going to consume right now, and that's it. So I started digging deeper with these products, and there's many variations of nice ceramic variations of this type of product.
Right there.
I'll show you some more in a minute. Most of this is all Hario product here, but there's a lot of other great drippers like this. And as I started playing around with it, I was realizing that there are some limitations where you're kind of locked into a certain technique. These are some. What I'll do is I'll do a little demonstration for you.
Okay.
That basically demonstrates the flow rate that is possible of water through these brewers. And what I found is that there's reasons, I think, there's really good reasons why this is designed the way it is. And I still very much absolutely love this product.
Okay.
To be able to make a great cup of coffee with a $3 piece of plastic, I think is excellent. If people give more attention, and it forces you to put more attention to what's going into it and focus on the coffee. I think it's easy to get distracted with cool toys, and that's why sometimes, even though a lot of people don't like plastic, it just makes it so simple. So this little guy has 3 holes.
Okay.
I'll just point out some differences. It has ridges. They're not really well defined, but they go all the way up. This has ridges. They're a little bit more defined. They are all straight, as are these, and they don't go all the way up, and these do. But these are a little more defined, and this has 2 holes. So I'm going to ask you a quiz question.
I know.
So this one, it doesn't go all the way up. They're straight down. It only has 1 hole, and it's a larger volume capacity. So there's some interesting things that happen here. I'll explain what happens when you have ridges, what happens when they're straight, what happens when you don't have ridges. Once you put a filter there, and you do need a filter, anywhere where there's a solid on the other side, water that is brewing coffee cannot make it through to the other side.
Right.
So you have some interesting things happening where water, just like with espresso and any brew method, water wants to take the path of least resistance. And here it is blocked.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
here
going to
it's
saturate the bottom, or it's going to saturate certain areas.
So it will essentially steep, and it kind of does what this does, which this is also a great brew method, and there's some of these that have ridges as well for a filter. But you're essentially making a French press and then filtering it, which is a great cup of coffee. You can make a solid cup of coffee with any of these brewers. But the brew method, none of these are truly a drip brew method, because the flow rate is restricted beyond what the grinds itself will restrict. It's defined by the orifice, the opening of the hole, and defined by how much solid there is, and defined by how defined the ridges are. So those things may not seem like a huge deal, but I'll show you what impact it has
And the Melita has ridges that only go part way up in there.
on water flow. And this doesn't have any ridges.
Right.
So essentially you could have a filter that just fits in there and it's only that big.
Okay.
And a strip here, because really that's the only place where coffee is going through the filter. So on this entire portion you are under extracting, and on the neck, and you need this for air to get out. And on this little bottom piece of the cone, you're going to over extract. We're going to put water in all of these and just let the water flow through. We'll start with this
Just
one.
as water.
Yeah, just
Okay.
water, no
Yep.
filter. The filter does obviously restrict some of the flow,
Yeah,
but we're going to see what the dripper does without the filter,
right.
and we're actually going to do them all at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how we'll sneak in there with the camera, but
Yeah, she can do
it'll
it.
be great.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm good.
Can you see it coming out?
So
Yeah.
that's got pretty good flow right there.
Yeah, it does.
This has better flow.
You see it?
This is about the same. All three still have water.
Oh, look at that one.
And this
Oh,
is
wow. It's like straight through.
with a higher flow rate, you can get really creative. The downside is you can also really mess it up. Just as bad. You can have a really coarse grind and pour the water pretty quickly and just let it go through, and it will go through as you saw. If I got a filter for each one of these and put it in, the differences are magnified. This doesn't slow down at all. All of these slow down significantly. Especially this one. The reason is you have a solid, and so there's no water that can go through the filter if there's a solid on the other side. It has to have somewhere to go. And so with all of these, you can feel the ridges to varying degrees.
Yeah, they're different. All of them are different.
But these just jump out.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
So the idea with this is that
That's real
the
fast.
filter is floating in the air. Ideally,
Okay.
you don't want any interruption on the other side. You want it to be able to evenly brew. So if you think about it, if you block one part of it, water can't get through. So the coffee that's up against that wall is just going to sit there. It's going to be
Nothing's coming
stagnant.
out of it. No extraction,
And the
right?
water's not going to go that way because it has no exit. So that has to naturally, you have to conclude, it's going to have an impact on the cup. So the idea is to have the filter floating in the air, and the only way to beat that is to literally have a filter floating in the air, which is why this is a phenomenal way to brew coffee. A sock. This is a filter that allows more fat, more body to go through. There are some Chemex filters that are also really good for this. And their white ones are not allowing as much as their natural craft ones. But the natural craft ones have a pretty heavy cardboard taste to them. So we've done a lot of testing on taste, which is why traditionally people that, maybe you don't want to use white because you don't want to use a bleached filter, and so you use a natural craft. But then all of a sudden you realize, okay, well, we actually care about the taste, and this water tastes like cardboard, just putting water through it. So this is a white filter that lets a lot of fat go through, and their natural craft filter is virtually flavorless, which is probably one of their most interesting products. We still have customers that will rinse them because you can tell that, if you put just water through, you can taste a little bit of it. But comparing side by side, their natural craft are almost flavorless, and these are completely flavorless. Perfect. But it's a perfect cone designed to fit. And this ridge is folded over, and the ridge being folded over naturally could fall into a groove, and that is why they chose to spiral this.
Oh, okay.
The ridge doesn't block one of the veins. And so there's an interesting detail in the experience where when you have a little bit of the turbulence or vortex as the coffee's already brewed and it's exiting, you have a little bit more, even if it's not a high distance, that would be another way to achieve this, but a little bit more bubbles.
Aeration.
Like bubbles, why do you want and need bubbles? And it really has an incredible impact on your tasting experience, because we do smell, and some of us are stronger at smelling than others. And so when you bring a cup close to taste, maybe it's too hot. If it's too hot, it's probably steaming, and some of these bubbles are popping, and your experience has already it begins to be painted at that point. You already have an idea whether or not you're going to like this cup or not, especially if you have a strong sense of smell. So that helps get more bubbles, and it really creates a little bit more aromatics in the cup, simply is what it does.